Hey everybody, welcome to the Ambition webinar where we're going to go over all things coaching and coaching templates. I'm Mary Foster and I am Customer Communications here at Ambition, and I also have Nick Love here.
Hey guys, thanks for joining.
So before we get started, we'll go over a couple of quick housekeeping notes. So we will send a recording after the webinar, so if you need to hop off or if you want to share with anybody, that'll be great. Everyone is muted, so as much as we'd love to chat in person, there's a lot of people on. Thank you all for coming, and just chat anything or in the Q&A panel you can ask. And then feel free to submit any questions if you'd like. We had a lot of questions come through ahead of time, so we'll get to those at the end. If we're not able to get to everybody's, we will connect with you offline. Some topics we're going to cover today are the benefits of moving away from performance reviews and into coaching. So here in 2019, performance reviews somehow continue to exist despite continuing a mountain of research that shows there is absolutely a better way to increase performance. Recent data in a high impact performance study, which was on Josh Berson's website, we love him here, it revealed that although these performance reviews are almost universally despised with a net promoter score of -60, 96% of companies continue to do them. So we're going to talk about some better ways to improve performance without using the dreaded performance reviews. We're also going to cover some research about the ROI and impact of good sales coaching. So throughout the slides, you'll notice a lot of stats about increases in win rates, time to revenue, reduced employee churn, those kind of things. We are going to cover a practical execution, a pragmatic approach to sales coaching. Like, what is the right cadence? What are the right questions? How do I know what to do? So there's a lot of data around what elite top performing sales orgs have been doing. So we've studied all that so we can learn how they're managing performance to get to the top. So everything from the coaching models they use, timing, frequency, all of that can be borrowed to help you create your own coaching program. We're going to talk about how to scale your coaching program through templates. So the templates are going to allow Ambition admins and managers to disseminate the programs to their teams with different customization options to ensure that the programs are tailored for you. They allow managers to learn from other successful managers to apply those programs to their teams. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And then how to make the most of your one-on-ones through things like consistency, transparency, templates for inspiration. We'll do a product walkthrough so you can actually see it. And we'll also do a Q&A.
Yeah, so towards the end, we'll do the product walkthrough, and I'll be sure to show everyone our existing coaching tools and also our new coaching program templates. And we're really excited to show them to you because they were 100% customer driven from customer feedback. So they're really cool features, and yeah, we'll dive into those.
All right, let's get going by talking about what coaching is and what coaching is not. So coaching cannot be solely focused on the numbers. You must be focused on the skills and techniques that drive the numbers. So we talk about this a lot at Ambition, where we need to be focusing on coaching controllable day-to-day activities, skills, behaviors that lead to the wins and results we're looking for. It cannot be like a deal chasing session every time. So to create consistent, predictable closers, your coaching should be consultative, individualized, and set up to reinforce good behaviors while working to help the person identify and redirect behaviors that aren't serving the organization. So you'll notice that coaching is not annual. It's not solely evaluative in nature. It's not always formal. It is consistent, ongoing, a two-way dialogue. At its most basic description, sales coaching is 100% designed to maximize the performance of the individual. So this could be a number of things, from professional growth and development, maximizing goal attainment, looking for specific metrics like improving opportunity to close one. Those are the goals, but it's so much more than just ranking an employee on a metric scale. What we find the problem to be when it comes to good coaching versus some of these things that coaching is not, is managers often say they don't have time to coach. This is where templates are going to be helpful. They're not sure what they're supposed to do, and that's part of the reason we're bringing this webinar. So in the past, if you haven't had access to the right tools and resources that can help you automate and scale some of these things that are important like coaching, you have those with Ambition. So you want to make sure that you're practicing so you can lead a great coaching conversation. Don't be punting the meetings because you think you don't have things to talk about this week. These templates are going to help make sure you have things to talk about. So here we're going to have a look that coaching is both formal and informal. So some ideas around formalized coaching are routine one-on-one meetings, maybe a pre-call planning for a customer call or meeting that you're going to have, debriefs after the meeting. Team meetings are considered formal coaching opportunities. Some of the informal opportunities are going to be things like if your reps come to you looking for support or asking questions, when there are signs that things are maybe off track or not going well, maybe it's an informal action plan kind of a thing. So you can see from the list here that formalized coaching sessions are just much more than a regurgitation of like a Salesforce dashboard full of numbers. People have those dashboards, they can see the numbers, they can see pipeline. You want to make sure that it includes pre-planning or strategizing based off tactics. So looking to help them figure out how to close better or identify opportunities to use collaborative language from listening in on calls. So coaching around these things that your reps can specifically do or not do to continue to improve. On our team, for example, here, if we lose a deal, the team will come together and kind of do an autopsy to figure out maybe where we lost the deal, why, what skills could potentially be improved going into the next one. So it's very collaborative in nature, intended to develop the skills they need to feel confident in their jobs.
Yeah, and we know everyone, each organization that you work at is slightly different. So we want to make sure that our platform is flexible, giving you the ability to do formal coaching sessions through our templates, while also giving your managers the ability to host informal and one-off coaching programs. So we'll dig into the demo and show you how to host all of these different types of coaching.
One thing that a lot of people don't actually know about is while not focused solely on data and numbers in the session, successful coaching programs are driven by data. So what we mean here is a lot of times sales orgs might think that they need to spend all of their time focusing on like their top performers so they can really even take them next level, or these bottom performers that they want to pull up. But there's a lot of data and math that show if you're doing that, focusing on maybe your top, and bottom, like maybe that's 30% of your sales org and you're ignoring this giant 70% in the middle. So we have a coaching guide around this that goes more in depth, and I will send you the link at the end. I'll be sure to chat out the link. But this is pulled directly from that. So it kind of shows you, let's say you have a top, middle, and bottom performers, if you think of your sales org in that way. So you have, let's say, these two top all-star players at the top. They're going above quota, as you can see in the little graphic here. You have your entire middle section who is going only 75% to plan. And then you have your bottom performers who are going 50% to plan. So instead of spending this crazy amount of time trying to just squeeze the tiniest bit more out of your top people or get a giant lift out of these bottom, if you just got a meaningful 5% lift out of your middle, the net increase by that group is huge. So it's something to think about as you're rolling out these programs to your team, is to not ignore your middle performers. There's a lot to be done there. Sometimes with coaching, people may or may not know what different coaching models are, really what a formalized plan looks like. So a couple of different main coaching models are the directive coaching, which is something that's kind of like talking to people, training by example. and developmental coaching, which is kind of considered training by inquiry. So in a directive coaching model, the coach serves as an expert or an example to follow. They're telling the team member what the problem is, what to fix. They might be giving recordings or scripts or techniques that say, you should apply this to your work, apply this to your work. This is probably the most classic coaching technique that you've seen or maybe experienced. In developmental coaching, the coach is kind of more like a resource, and it's very question-based. So they're helping the team members self-discover and decide on the best action for their own selling style. So managers are able to recognize, if they use this tactic, that reps can independently solve a problem. They might not need concrete examples or instructions. They might just need guidance to adapt to their selling style. So although directive coaching models are probably the most common, they've actually been studied to be the least effective compared to developmental. So just because they are that telling and evaluative in nature. They can be effective, but it takes a little bit of extra work to make sure that you are only pulling examples that are authentic to your rep's selling style, or only giving scripts that would sound normal for that person. So it's a lot more work to make it a success than some of the developmental coaching models. Okay, enough theory. Let's talk about how we do it. So a lot of people are like, this is great. We've seen the stats. We know we should be coaching. We don't have a lot of time. Tell me, what are we supposed to do? How often do we meet? What do we talk about? What am I supposed to ask? You're always telling me these things are the wrong way to coach. What's the right way to coach? And how do I know if it's working? So we want to dive into some of these exact steps so that you can take a pragmatic approach to building out your coaching program this upcoming week, maybe. How often should I be coaching? Okay, there's research from Excel Institute, which is a sales coaching firm that studies this very thing. They study
Hey, Mary, I think I'm having a hard time hearing you.
here.
Still
Oh, I think we lost connection. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, you're back.
Great. Okay, sorry about that. So covered here on the slide, you could probably see, even if you couldn't hear me, frequency of meetings. Top performing sales orgs are meeting monthly for team meetings and bi-weekly for the one-on-ones. So continued research has gone on to show that it's not just about the frequency and the cadence. There's also a big quality component. So when reps self-evaluated afterwards, they felt like the coaching session was good. It worked better. If they felt like their coach was terrible, even though they were doing the same cadence, the performance wasn't there. So you want to make sure that you are making frequent and set cadences, but also that you're coming prepared and the quality is there.
Yeah, so if you are familiar with our coaching programs and check-ins or action plans, you do have the flexibility to set up daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly coaching. So we do give you the flexibility in the app to host those as often as you need to see, what works best for your organization.
Okay, so if you know you're supposed to probably maybe consider be meeting bi-weekly for your one-on-ones, maybe monthly for your teams, what are you supposed to ask? There are 3 types of questions that seem to be the most common amongst top sales managers who invest coaching in their team. So there's observation style questions, reflection style questions, and then application style questions. These are the 3 different types you probably want to consider. And some examples of what these would be. So observation questions would be things like, what do you think you did well here? What did you hear that was maybe noteworthy on this call? They're dissecting a call afterwards, potentially you both review it together in the session or separately ahead of time. And you're asking these observation questions to see if you and the rep are even on the same page about what the right behaviors to observe are. You need to make sure that they understand cues and what to be listening for and what to be noticing. And you might assume that they do, but these style questions will make sure that you guys are on the same page there. The reflection questions are going to be things that get them to take what they observed and then draw conclusions from them based on the observations. So you're making sure they're observing, and then you're getting them to reflect on that with things like, what did you like about this particular call? Or what do you wish you could go back and change afterwards? You can apply them to specific things that you heard on that call, like what were you thinking when they hesitated about what you said about onboarding? And this allows you to kind of guide them, taking the things that they noticed and create learning opportunities there around scenarios that will continue to come up. The application style questions are things that will allow them to take their learning from the coaching session and also combine it with some homework and self-learning to take it and apply to the future so that they can improve. So it might be something like, what would you do differently to prepare for the next call compared to how you prepared for this one? Or how are you going to work to improve a specific skill ahead of the next call? This allows them to think through how they're going to take these learning sessions and actually use them. You can also open yourself up for some informal opportunities here to say, hey, what could we work on together ahead of your next meeting with that client? It kind of shows that you're an ally and not just here to judge them retroactively on their past performance. And it looks like we do have a question library too. So if you get confused or stumped, don't worry. We can chat that out to you that gives some questions there. And I think Nick might have sent that.
Yeah, I just sent that out. So as you build out your template or your program, I'll show you where you input these questions. So this is just help to provide some inspiration if you need to know what should I ask on a biweekly or a quarterly basis. So a really good resource for everyone.
And here we're going to look at maybe what a sample template might actually look like to take some of these observation, reflection, application questions and measure them and things like that. So we're going to show you a template of what it might look like if you have an SDR biweekly check-in. You want to include these 3 questions in an inquiry style coaching model. We're going to center on an attribution metric of meetings set. So we want them to actually set more meetings, and we are focusing on data, and it's a data-driven program. But in the sessions, we're going to work on the things that will actually do that, not just review how many meetings did you get, how many are you going for now. We're going to just really work to coach those skills. So let's see here. Okay, so these are some of the questions based on the research. We know we're meeting bi-weekly. Based on the 3 most popular question types in Top Sales Orgs, we did that here. So even if you haven't reviewed a call, you might say, okay, SDR person, tell me about a specific call where you got someone on the line, but you weren't able to get a demo scheduled with them. So you're going back to that observation. What do you think went well on the call despite not getting the demo meeting set? Chances are they are going to find some things that they were like, yeah, I was doing that right. And it will also surface to them, well, okay, if I was doing these things right, what was I doing wrong? Rather than potentially you pointing it out all the time, it allows them to self-discover. Then some reflective style questions, things like, what type of research might you want to do ahead of the next call to potentially control the outcome in your favor? And again, it's putting some of the work on them. Maybe they don't know what kind of research they're supposed to do, so they could either potentially share with you what they think, and you can kind of guide them, like, hey, here's a blog I actually like to look at a lot more. Or, yes, that sounds great, never heard of it, let me know how that works for you. And then it continues to go on the list of getting them to self-assess and actually think of things that they're going to change or keep doing to do better and improve. Another common one that you might want to think about is an AE biweekly meeting. Same thing in terms of the template. It's going to have observation, reflection, and application questions. But let's focus this metric on closed won deals. So we want those people closing deals. We're not going to sit down and just review their pipeline and be like, really get this one. This is a big one. If this could really mean a lot for you this month. It doesn't really work that way. Chances are they already know that's a big one that they want to get, and it means a lot to them this month. What they might not know is some of the specific language they could be using. Are they using collaborative language that's shown to be used 10 times more often by top sales reps? Maybe they don't know about that. So maybe that something's wrong with their timing. Like, these are the things that we're going to get to with some of these question styles we talked about. So again, it's similar in the 3 question types, but it might be a little bit different. On a recent call where you're able to close the deal, were you using this collaborative language? What do you think resonated most with them in order to close the deal? Did it align with what you initially thought they were going to buy for? Things like this. And also sometimes you might want to get around a discussion around discounting. Maybe they're closing a lot of deals, but the price point isn't quite what you think it should be. So just asking them, like, what prompted you to decide to offer a discount? In hindsight, do you think they would have bought at full value? Things like this could point out to them an opportunity almost to increase their average order value that they might not think of. They might be using that as a crutch. Like, hey, if I discount the price, I bet I could go ahead and seal the deal. But actually, they're a better salesperson than that. Maybe they could be selling people at full value. So any of these types of questions, and these will be included in a blog post after the webinar, so I'll be sure to share those with you guys. And again, there's also more in the question library. So we have a ton of resources around data-backed question types to be asking here. I would just like to reiterate the 3 main things to take away are being consistent with your coaching program. So don't do a drive-by chat session and don't punt the meetings until next time. Have the template that we're setting you up for success with in Ambition, and make sure that you're holding the meetings. But also, don't just hold the meetings. Make sure you're preparing and feeling invested in your coaching, because there is a 7x ROI on it. Your win rates have been shown to increase 28%. There are a ton of stats that will show all the amazing things you can do with coaching, and because you can actually measure it in Ambition and tie it to metrics, you're going to be able to prove the ROI. So be consistent, do a good job, and measure it so that you can show it's working. And now for the fun part, we are going to see what it actually looks like in Ambition to create a coaching program with templates.
All right, so I'm going to get my screen share pulled up. Mary, can you see my screen now? Okay. All right. So for the demo, I'm going to go through some of the existing functionality that you may or may not already use within Ambition for coaching. And then I'm going to go in and show you how to build a coaching program template from scratch. So for this demo, I have to be logged into 2 accounts. So I'm logged in as myself. I'm a manager. And then I'll swap back to Aaron Thomas, who is one of my direct reports. So we'll start with the manager side of the application, or the admin side. For this, I'm looking at our coaching section of our navigation over here, and I'm looking at check-ins. Within the check-ins page, you have several filters here. So I can look up a certain employee, a status for the check-in. I can look up historical check-ins. Rating, as you approve someone's 101, you can give them a rating. Did they exceed or fall below expectations for this week or month? And you can also search by program name or through your own notes. So you do have the ability to leave private notes that are only visible for you. So just to redefine this, check-ins are the occurrence of a coaching program. So a coaching program includes things like check-ins or action plans or questions or goals. And the check-ins are actually one-on-ones that you're having with your direct report. So I'll go ahead and open up this pending check-in with Aaron. It's due today. So I can go in and see, okay, this is the coaching program I'm using for Erin. And I have just 3 questions for her. Since this is every Friday, just want to keep it short and sweet. So what did you focus on this week? What challenges or roadblocks do you need help with? And who has been your MVP since our last review? You can see that no answer is given yet. So it's still pending for her to go in and answer these questions. I can also see the metrics or goals that are applicable to Erin this week. As I mentioned, I can leave private notes here within this check-in. The employee cannot see those. And then there's also an action plan that I built for Erin for this week. So with her action plan, I have a question, a goal, and an external URL for her. So for a question, I might just say, okay, this week's a little different. We have an upcoming trade show. So in addition to our regular check-in, what are you doing for the upcoming trade show? I can see a goal here. So I see her weekly calls goal. I know she's on path to hit this week's goal. And then I might have like an external URL for training. For this one, it's actually a personality assessment. So that's something we're doing within the Ambition team. So I thought it'd be fun. So yeah, this is her action plan. It's built within a check-in. So now I'll go back to Erin's screen, and within her page, she can see coaching here with the whistle, and she can see both her action plans or check-ins. So with this one, it's very similar. I have filters so Erin can see, pending or completed or excused if she's out of the office one week. But right now I see that I have one that's open, that's due today, my 101. If I click this, remember this is Erin's view. So now as Erin, the manager is asking her, what did you focus on this week? So if it's calls and emails, she can be as detailed as she'd like here. What roadblocks do you need help with? Could be training. And who has been your MVP since last week? It's definitely Mary. And once she's done, she can click that Mark as Complete button, and then it goes to the manager's dashboard for review. There's also the action plan here that's added onto her check-in. So once again, she can go in and answer these questions directly in the Ambition app. So how you're preparing for the upcoming trade show, she can submit her response. And then for any external URLs, is this complete? Say, yes, I completed that. So I'll hit Update Action Plan. That has been submitted. And now if I go to the manager side of coaching, I can see that within Erin's action plan for this week, she has given her answer to the upcoming trade show. This is still pending because she hasn't hit her goal 100% yet. But I can also see that she completed her training today, April 12th. So this back and forth cadence is built into all of our coaching programs. And you can make these as complex or simple as you need. So if you're meeting every week, you might want to keep it pretty simple. But if it's a quarterly review and you want to talk about, Q2 sales goals or lead goals, you can add as many questions as you would need or like. So now, if we have any questions, feel free to jump in here. But before we dig into, before we wrap up the demo, I wanted to show the new templates. So I'm logged in as a manager or an admin user here. And I'm going to go down to coaching. And now you can see I have action plans, program templates, or programs. Let's go to program templates. So these templates, think of these as templates for like Microsoft PowerPoint. There's 2 different types of templates. Templates that are managed are basically deployed automatically across your organization. And then we have just our regular templates, which are for use for anyone at any time. So basically what I can do here as a manager, I can see all of my ongoing templates, or I can create one from scratch with the Create button. So create a template to be used across multiple coaching programs. This makes it easy to ensure organizational alignment while scaling coaching efforts. So the whole goal with templates is that you can create consistent coaching with alignment across your metrics, your goals, or questions, training, whatever is important to your organization. You can centrally manage all of your coaching from a template and deploy it across your organization at any level or to any manager. So we're just going to pick a managed template, and this is going to be, we'll say, a new hire 101. And we want to talk to new employees about their training, objective. This could be very specific around hitting their objective scores or activity scores. And this form is designed to be pretty helpful and walk you through the process. So recurrence, how often do I want this to go on? The date I set here is the date that they first get an email inviting them to go in and participate in their check-in. So let's say we want this to start on April 15th at 1 p.m. and we want it to repeat every, let's say, once a week since they're new hires. Next, I can establish when that recurrence ends. So we want this to go on, since they're new hires, we'll say, 10 check-ins or 10 weeks. And it's showing me that it's going to start on April 15th, every Monday for 10 occurrences. Next, as a manager or as the admin, I have to select who this applies to. So within manager, I want this to go to all of my managers' new hires. Oops. All right. Questions. So here, as we showed earlier, we have a question library. So you can take those or you can build your own questions, whatever's important to your business. So you can type in question, is it required or not? Usually we'll say yes, just to get additional feedback. And you can add as many questions as you need here. You can also re-rank those with the up and down arrows or remove them. All right, we'll hit next. And it's asking me to select 3 metrics that are important for this program. So for new hires, you might want to look at, activity score. We'll look at objective score. And those might be the 2 things that we just want to look at for now. When I hit create program template, it says success. And here we go. I have a new hire 101 template. And since this is a managed or centrally managed program, it is automatically deployed to all of my managers that have new hires. So that is the gist of our program templates. These will be available for each of your instances next week, pretty early next week. When they go live in your instance, you'll get an email with directions, helpful documents. We have a lot of cool stuff coming your way. So with that, we'll close the demo, and I think we probably have some Q&A coming up.
Okay, 1 second. I'm going to reshare my screen. Okay, can you see my screen okay?
Yep.
So one of the first questions that came in says, what is the best way to create standardized coaching processes for efficiency while dealing with varying individual needs? So the templates are great for this, for standardized process. So, you create this template, you can deploy it across all managers, and that's going to give you a sense of consistency on its own. In terms of the individual needs, that's exactly the right question to be asking, because the programs have to be tailored individually to work. So in some of the templates that you saw, the questions are going to be centered specifically around a call they had. Tell me about this call that you had or this email that you wrote. In addition to that, if you need further individual interactions or coaching, that's where those individual action plans are going to come to super use. So either of those things, but the idea of the template is that it's standardized, and then the questions are able to be tailored to the individual. Great question. The next question is, how frequently should coaching sessions be held? And we covered that a little bit, so it's kind of up to you, but top sales organizations, the most common that we're finding is the team meetings are monthly, which was a surprise to me. And the one-on-ones are bi-weekly, every other week, which gives you a lot of time, to stagger your cadences with your team, not feel overwhelmed with coaching, but committing a good amount of time to it to see results. Nick, I'm going to let you take the next one. It says, what do you think is the best practice for coaching adoption?
Yeah. Make sure I'm not on mute. Okay. Yeah. Good question. I think templates are going to become a very easy way to deploy consistent coaching that is aligned across the organization. So if you're at a large enterprise, you can create that managed template that's centrally managed and deployed. But if you're in a smaller, more agile team, you can create a standard template that your managers can then go and pick and build their own program for. So yeah, it's pretty flexible depending on the size or structure, but templates are going to be a really great way to help adopt those.
One of the next questions is really great. They want to know, can only the admin create the templates?
So actually, there's you have flexibility. Mary, is it okay if I share my screen again? Let's do this. So if I go to the permissions section of my user, if I'm an admin under people permissions here, you can see there's a section called coaching, create action plan, or create program, or program template. So all three of these are flexible for you to go in and manage. So admins are preset yes for all of these, but if you'd like for your managers to have the ability to create a template, a program, or an action plan, you can toggle those at the manager level or the employee level. And while I'm screen sharing, I saw another question come in about where do you actually sync or link an action plan to a check-in? And I'll show that real fast, and then we get back to the other questions. So here I'm looking at open check-ins. Across the top, there's a section called action plans. Here is the action plan builder, and it's going to link this directly to this check-in. So I could say this is due on next Friday. And then I can add questions, goals, or URLs for external parties or external training. And it's just like the program builder. I can put in my question here and hit add, create action plan. Now this action plan is synced directly to that check-in.
Okay, and there was another question that I want you to take, Nick, that says, what are you most excited about in Ambition currently?
Most excited about, we're working on a new site that will allow all of you to centrally submit your product requests and feedback for Ambition as a whole. So this website will allow you the ability to see other customers' ideas and upvote them or downvote them. You'll also be able to see what we're currently working on, so what's in process, what's on deck for later this quarter, and you can also see all of our recently launched updates and features. So be on the lookout for that in the next few weeks. We'll have a really cool way for you to submit all of your ideas in a central place. But yeah, there's a lot going on, so plenty to share.
Okay, awesome. I think that's about all the time we have for today. So I just want to say super thank you to everyone for joining us. If you have questions or want to talk more about how to set this up for your organization specifically, feel free to reach out to your CSM or email gethelp@ambition.com for support. We are here working for you, and we want you to be successful using it. So please let us know how we can be of service. Please let us know if there are any other topics you want us to cover in the future. We would love to hear from you. So thank you so much for joining us. Can't wait to see you on here again. Let us know if you have questions.
Have a good weekend.